Often, it's here in the studio where the business of being a professional musician comes most sharply into focus. When it came time for me to record a new theme song for this video, naturally I wanted the right people. Not surprisingly, I had to call in a few favors to get them, because I wanted the same guys a lot of other producers want on their sessions. Life can be busy when you're on the A-list, and that's a problem a lot of aspiring musicians would love to have. There are no shortcuts to getting to the top level of musicianship, but understand that once you do, getting to the A-list doesn't automatically follow.
The difference between A and B players is basically experience. A lot of times what I find is that the A player is the one who just has the knowledge, has the ears. He's watching not only the players, but he's feeling the players. Whereas the guy who's the B player, he's playing, is technically correct, but it's not really with the other unit. And then at the end, he has to ask one important question. How'd that sound? If you have to ask that question, you missed it.
All of the great musicians that I love sound different from anybody else. And that's what I'm always looking for. If a player doesn't have that quirky individual difference, then they just become one of dozens of other regular players.
You can get what you want from a lot of the B-list players, for lack of a better term. But do you want to put yourself through all that hell when you know that somebody like Nathan can come in and nail it? Lock with the bass drum, incredible feel, great choice of notes, and learn the song the first time through. I mean, what part of that don't you want to happen?
Everybody ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Ready? Everybody's headphones okay?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
All the successful studio musicians I know have worked hard to develop skills tailored to the special demands of studio recording. Often you will have to size up a situation very quickly, then perform at a high level with little rehearsal, sometimes playing with complete strangers. This is not easy, so you have to be mentally prepared for anything that comes up. Knowing many different styles of music is essential. Remember that you've been called to sit in on somebody else's song, so it's up to you to fit in. The producer called you for solutions, not because he needed more problems.
You know, you've got to come in and play what is right for the tune, and you'll end up getting more work and being respected more by your fellow musicians if you come in and just, you know, not play all over the place, but just play what is right for the song. And that's true with drummers, that's true with any instrument.
Recording sessions can be heaven and they can be hell. The difference usually boils down to the working atmosphere. Record producers know this, and they cast their sessions as carefully as a director casts a movie. A lot of intangibles are taken into consideration, because if you're there, you're part of the vibe.
You know, you can be the greatest and know every lick and be perfect and all that, but you've got to be able to get along with people. You've got to be able to make people feel good about themselves. I mean, in my job as a record producer, my only job is to make the singer or the bass player or the drummer, whoever I'm working with, feel good about themselves. That's the only way I can get a great performance out of them, and Quincy Jones is the master of that.
Attitude is really key, because there is no room for diva-dom in the studio. And we do have some on occasion, you know, but there's no room for it, and they will not be coming back too often.
Aptitude plus attitude determines altitude, period. You can be the best player in the world. If your attitude is wrong, you won't be at the session. Have a great attitude. People will love to work with you and even hang around until you get the part right, just because you can feel it and you're jovial about this. You're not laboring on it. That's everything in a session. And you're giving, meaning you will give up the notes. You will give up well, let me try this. If that doesn't work, let me try another thing. Opposed to saying, you know what, I don't like it. Wrong attitude. Attitude is everything.
Perhaps this is the most important difference between A players and all the other fine musicians out there. Whatever the case, every successful pro I've met knows it's a privilege to be invited to a session, and a greater one to be invited back.